Welcome back to the program, everyone, and welcome to Oblivion as always. We are the Cinebytes, back to raise a little hell. This week, we are talking about a movie that is near and dear to the heart of every horror fan. And really, it's a dream come true talking about this movie, to be honest with you. Do you hear that?
What the fuck is that?
Where's it coming from? What the hell?
Hello?
I'm your boyfriend now, Jason.
We're talking about A Nightmare on Elm Street from 1984. I'm Dusty Lane.
I'm Jason Mitchell.
And I'm Debbie Ann.
And we are the Cinebytes.
Hello.
I came for you. We have such sights to show you.
It was an excellent day for an exorcism.
I said, I'm not gonna hurt you. I'm just gonna bash your brains in.
I want to play a game.
What's the boogeyman?
As a matter of fact, it was. This is God.
We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you?
But sometimes, that is better.
And here we are back again, talking about Nightmare on Elm Street, directed and written by Wes Craven. Released in the year 1984, MPAA rating of R, of course, 91-minute runtime. This is a New Line Cinema production and set in Springwood, Ohio, question mark?
I thought it was like a Springfield case where every state has a Springfield. Every
county, yeah.
Every place has an Elm Street.
I'm going to tell you right now,
Yes.
not every state has fucking palm trees, and certainly not Ohio. See, the thing is, we talk about the setting of this movie, and it's supposed to, we find out later that it's in Ohio. This movie was absolutely not, and it's not specified in the first movie. But yeah, there's palm trees all the fuck over the place. There's California plates you can clearly see at one point, so they just retcon that shit.
I'm glad we both watched because I didn't notice any of that shit. I didn't see one palm tree.
Yeah, I did see that huge one of them. They were standing on the bridge, and it was just like,
Yeah, in your face.
yes, absolutely.
So you might notice we have a new voice for this episode. We welcome Debbie Ann into the studio to guest on this one. How's it going?
Good. Excited.
How'd you feel about your 148 millionth viewing of this movie?
It was comical. After a while.
There is a lot of comical shit, and not everything that's comical in this movie is intentional, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. There's some goofy shit. This is not the greatest, constructed movie.
Yeah, no, it has its goofy moments.
Yeah.
And you can tell that we're all laughing because we've seen the other Freddys, and Freddy does get comical. He's just not comical yet.
He's not super. He is a little bit like when he has Tina turn around and he chops a couple of his fingers off, or he cuts his tit open, or whatever.
Right.
It's all gross shit. But he's you can tell he's having fun doing it. The next movie, he's way darker.
Oh, dude, I love part 2.
And more serious. But then, by part 3, he's developing his sense of humor again. That's where the one-liners really start jumping out.
Welcome to prime time, bitch.
Yes.
Chief among them. So yeah, this series is incredibly popular, and for good reason. I mean, this is not the greatest, like I said, crafted movie in the world, but it is one of the greatest in terms of feel. Just the vibe of this movie from start to finish is a good time, and it's a big deal in the horror world because of it. An icon was born from this, and I don't see that even after Robert Englund passes, this character will live on forever. For sure. Man.
Absolutely.
Let's go through our cast list here real quick. Of course, we've got Nancy, played by Heather Langenkamp, one of the best. Freddy, again, played by Robert Englund. Glenn, fucking introducing Johnny motherfucking Depp.
Yeah,
we were watching this movie last night, and Patrick was like, oh, introducing Johnny Depp, and he said, no, that's not Johnny Depp. And I said,
yeah, the fuck
yes,
it is.
It is. You can tell.
We've got Lieutenant Donald Thompson, or otherwise known as Daddy through most of this movie, played by John Saxon.
Yeah.
Marge, played by Ronnie Blakely, that's Nancy's mom. We've got her best friend Tina, played by Amanda Wyss, who is a lovely person I met at Horror Hound last year.
Nice.
Rod, now this is an interesting casting. He's credited in this as Nick Corey. His real name is Sue Garcia, spelled J-S-U. They decided that his name was too ethnic, and they decided that he needed to go by Nick Corey, which is fucking stupid and unfortunate, but hey, it was the mid-'80s.
Different times, man, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
We've got another staple of horror here, Sergeant Parker, played by Joseph Whipp, who also plays the cop in Scream.
Oh, shit, okay.
At least I think. Can somebody look that up?
Yes, absolutely. He does.
He does, for sure?
Yeah.
Okay. We've got Bob Shaye's sister Lynn playing Nancy's teacher. I think that was like a part of the like contract, like, oh, we're not doing this unless my sister gets a part, Wes. Cinematography I always like to mention by Jacques Haitkin, and the fucking music in this movie, god damn it.
Oh yeah.
Charles Bernstein, I think the music in this is the most important part. By far, hands fucking down.
Yep, me too.
This story was based on, purportedly, Wes Craven saw some stories in the LA Times about some mysterious deaths going on, some recurring nightmares where people died in their sleep. I believe there was a Cambodian family involved in this. A lot of people think that influence of like the whole phenomenon of sleep paralysis has something to do with this. I think in our last episode I mentioned Aunt Helene was my sleep paralysis demon. So Freddy is that for a lot of people, and like I said, for good reason, man. So yeah, let's get into this. This movie opens with one of, if not the best production graphics ever. That old school fucking mid-'80s New Line cinema graphic. Oh my god. Oh, it hits you right in the feels.
Yeah, it's crazy because I've never seen that anywhere else.
No?
Not that one. Have you?
Interesting. I feel like I've seen it a few times. It was like...
That's the only time I recognize it is from this movie. I don't remember anywhere else.
I will say that any time that I saw it, it immediately sucks me back to this movie.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. Our opening here features Freddy at his fucking workbench. He's making his glove. He pours out a bunch of sharp shit on that bench, starts hammering and grinding. There's fucking sparks flying everywhere. More power. Right off the jump, the score in this movie is incredible, like we said. There's a bunch of like synth and 80s drums and choral like vocal sounds going on and shit. It crescendos as we get our first super cool title card, and it is one of the greatest title cards.
Oh yeah, he throws his glove on and flicks his hand out.
Yeah, that image is amazing as well. I want a poster of that. The first casualty in this movie is a sheet, that poor sheet, and we get our introduction to Tina in her dream. Tina, in her dream, runs down the fucking halftime football tunnel of a school somewhere, apparently. And her name is being whispered to her. And then there's this, like, little lamb in the hallway all of a sudden, suggesting a sacrifice, perhaps?
Right.
Yeah, that's how I took it.
We get a quick glimpse of Freddy playing hide and seek. And we're officially in Freddy land here. This is starting to look more like a boiler room. And Freddy's, like, wandering around casually below. Everything is fucking disgusting.
Everything's wet.
Everything's wet, gross. Yeah, man. Like, this movie is lit phenomenally, though. I love the big dramatic, like, uplighting and shadows cast all over everything.
Right.
Different lighting from different angles in the same shot.
All the steam.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I was going to say, steam.
So much fucking steam. We get our first finger knife scratch on metal here, and Freddy busts through that sheet to jump scare Tina,
Right.
who is still in her 90. That's unfortunate. She takes a detour to the right and finds a dead end and a fireplace. Freddy walks away at that point, and we hear a baby cry. There's always a fucking baby crying in a
Right.
dream. I don't know why. That's just...
See, I was like, baby or cat? Wasn't really sure.
That's like Dream Soundtrack 101, though. Just
Yes.
like throw
Yeah.
a baby in there and you got yourself a fucking perfect recipe for a nightmare. But then Freddy pops up behind her, jump scaring her back to consciousness. And when she sits up in bed, her mom comes to check on her. And she's like, no, it's just a dream.
Right.
But mom looks at her nightgown and she's like, Jesus Christ, some dream. Either you need to stop dreaming like that or trim your fingernails.
Right.
You need to stop that kind of dreaming.
Yeah. There's like 4 big ass gashes in her nightgown. And then, dude, gross, man. Her mom's boyfriend comes to like collect her and bring her back to bed.
Right.
Yeah.
He's got this big like scar on his cheek.
Yeah.
Oh man, this dude's gross.
You coming back to the sack or what?
We was busy getting busy.
But yeah, like, I love the line where she's like, you either need to cut your fingernails or quit that kind of dream. And like, yeah, okay, Mom, sure. let me just not dream. I can't control my fucking dreams. Can you?
I don't ever dream.
What? At all?
Not really.
Oh,
I mean, sometimes, but
I was gonna say.
Well,
Freddy,
you don't remember your dreams. Everybody dreams. You just
Right.
don't remember them.
That's what. Yeah, because
you have to dream, or
I'm aware that there was a story that just played in my. I got my head movies playing while I'm sleeping, but like, yeah, normally after I wake up, I don't remember what it was.
Or if you do, like throughout the day, you usually forget it.
Yeah, sometimes it comes back in little pieces, but yeah. So Tina grabs her crucifix from the wall, and then we get another sort of dream sequence looking filter on the camera, and we get the first Freddy nursery rhyme here. Oh, nope, turns out this is actually reality, because up drives Johnny Depp in his fucking dope-ass red convertible.
Yeah, dude, he's got a nice car.
Yeah, for sure. This is a 1958 Cadillac Series 62. 62.
Yeah.
But the gang's all here. We got Johnny Depp as Glenn, Heather Langenkamp as Nancy, Amanda Wyss as Tina, and soon we'll be joined by Rod, but we'll let that happen organically. Tina's telling all of her friends about the dream she had last night, and Nancy's like, oh shit, I had one too. That's crazy. And then up comes Tina's boyfriend Rod, who's like a typical greaser, kind of.
Yeah, he looks like he'd
up.
be in grease. He's got like a piece of hair hanging down.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know?
so me and Grant were talking about this. I was like, he looks like Michael Jackson. That's like,
Yeah.
The eye. Like the...
He looks like he just came from the casting call for The Outsiders.
Yes.
And he hears them all talking about their dreams, and he's like, oh, I had a hard-on this morning when I woke up, Tina, and it had your name written all over it. And she's got the best fucking zing of all time. Oh, my God. She goes, there's 4 letters in my name, Rod. How could there be room on your joint for 4 letters? Bam! Got him. He gets all pissed off. He's like, up yours with a twirling lawnmower. And she, as he walks away, she turns back to everybody else. She's like, Rod says the sweetest things. Then he peels off from the group. Tina wants to go back to talking about her dream and asks Nancy about hers, but Nancy's like, fuck that. I'm not talking about it. Forget about it. Everybody has bad dreams sometimes. And Glenn pipes in and says, next time it happens, just tell yourself you're dreaming and you wake right up. And I'm like, oh, is that how it fucking works? Okay. Glenn kisses Nancy and runs off to class. As Glenn runs off, they ask him if he had a nightmare too, because there's a little bit of look of recognition in his face, but he doesn't answer. He just runs back off to class.
Yeah, you can tell everybody's having the same dreams already. You know, say something about maybe an earthquake's coming. You know, weird shit's happening.
Yeah, what the fuck? In Ohio? Once again, it wasn't necessarily Ohio yet in this movie, but still. As a horror fan, thinking back to that, like knowing the whole story after seeing like the entire series or whatever, you're like, we live in Ohio. We don't fucking get earthquakes in Ohio. Come on. Later that night, the kids have a sleepover because Tina's mom just tells her that she's taken off for a couple of days. Just out of the blue. What the fuck, Mom?
Yeah, sweet, dude.
I mean, I guess, but also shitty mom.
Nah, she's old enough to take care of herself, man.
I suppose so. You know what? It's interesting because a lot of times they talk to Nancy in this movie like she's a fucking toddler. Tina mentions at some point that she can't believe Glenn's mom is letting him spend the night here. Well, turns out she's not. She doesn't actually know where he is. She thinks he's at his cousin Barry's house, who lives near the airport. And to cover this up, Johnny Depp has this fucking sound effects tape that he's gonna his plan is to just play the sound of a plane flying overhead. Which I don't know why he keeps letting this fucking thing play.
Yeah.
You should have had your finger on the button
Ready
while
to
you were
go,
talking to your mom.
exactly.
After the plane stops, shut that thing the fuck up. It's not that hard.
There's like a car crash and shit.
Dude, yeah.
Some lady's yelling. Like,
Yeah, she asks like how everything's going. He's like, oh, it's fine, just noisy over here as usual. Plan goes horribly fucking awry. There's like revving engines in the background. He's like, oh no, Mom, I think it's just drag racers.
Yeah.
But then, there's a crash. He's like, oh, I think there's been an accident. I can't imagine what she's going through on the other end of the line.
Gullible.
Just fucking screaming, gunfire all over the place. He's like, I think the neighbors are having a fight. Having a fight with guns?
It happens.
He's like, don't worry, Mom, we'll call the police. And poor Nancy tries to help, but she gets scared and starts laughing. He hangs up on his mom. She's like, worked like a charm. But we go back to talking about dreams. It's like the entire purpose of what we're doing here tonight. They're staying because she's scared and she's alone. and they're talking about what turns out they've all been going through. We don't quite get all that information, especially not from Glenn, but Tina says she's been seeing that weird guy's face and hearing those fingernails. And Nancy's like, what's funny you should mention the fingernails. That reminds me of my dream. Oh, fuck. They're dreaming about the same person?
Yeah, what are the fucking odds?
Holy, not good.
Right.
Not fucking good.
But I noticed that Johnny Depp, like, in the background, he does perk up. Like, he looks.
For sure.
Yeah.
He doesn't clue them in that he does,
right.
but while they're talking about it, he definitely, like, light bulb, holy shit, they're dreaming about the same thing I'm dreaming about. Which, we were talking about the odds of it, I would say not great. However, if they are friends living in the same town, in the same area, they're kind of having some of the same experiences, maybe it's not that crazy to think that they're dreaming about the same shit.
Right.
Or maybe if they all had a nightmare that night and they were like, oh, like, you know, you're talking about your dream. That reminds me of something I dreamed of. Mm-hmm. Maybe not the exact same thing, but similar. So
similar
we
enough.
all had the same dream. Yes.
Yeah, definitely parallels within them. They mention he's got a dirty red and green sweater. That's when Glenn looks up and he's like, oh, damn, for real?
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Nancy says the fingernails were more like finger knives. Fucking chlorophyll, more like borophyll. Right?
Yeah, right.
She mentions they made a horrible sound. And they discover basically, they had the same dream. Glenn says that's impossible. And immediately there's a scratch at the window.
Oh, shit.
Creepy. Glenn goes to check it out, being the man in 1984.
Of course.
The girls follow him pretty closely. And this is a cool yard, dude. There's a nice little awning and a picnic table situation going on.
Oh, yeah, it's set up for parties, man.
Hell yeah, it is. the Grays, I guess, host. And her mom, dude, she definitely looks like a drunk. Nancy's mom is a drunk, but she doesn't really look like it. Fucking Tina's mom looks like a little bit of a rough cookie.
A rough cookie.
And I think that's where she probably found the guy with the face scar. I was going to say Scarface. Like, wait a second, that's not right. They hear the sound again coming from somewhere in the back of the yard. And Glenn says, I'm going to punch out your ugly lights, whoever you are. I don't think I ever heard that one before.
Nope.
Some more weird 80s shit, man.
Or since. How can the light be ugly? Oh, you know what? I take that back. Fluorescence. Fuck fluorescent lights. All of a sudden, Rod comes out and fucking tackles Glenn. And he's like yelling like an announcer at a football game. Rod Lane tackles Lance just 3 yards shy of the goal line.
Yeah, he scares the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, me included.
Yeah, you don't do well with jump scares, huh?
No, they always get me.
Man. We got to check out some haunted houses this year. Report on them for the pod. Let's do a fucking episode on it, dude.
All right.
Let's just do a tour of local haunted houses. Tina asks what the fuck Rod is doing there. He wasn't invited. Turns out he was the one making the noise that they were hearing with a garden tool. And his immediate thought, of course, is, so what's going on over here? An orgy or something?
Yeah. Well, they are there with Johnny Depp, huh?
Yeah. And speaking of which, appropriately enough, he fires back with maybe funeral, dickhead. But at this point, Rod, being the good little greaser that he is, pulls out a switchblade.
Hell yeah.
Holds it in his face. Nancy, I believe, mentions that it's just a sleepover date and Glenn was just leaving. So no dicks allowed in this house tonight.
Not true. Rod diverts, grabs Tina by the waist. We have stuff to discuss.
Yeah, he laughs after they get done talking about that, and he's like, just to his face, Johnny Depp mocks him. There is some great acting in this movie, particularly from Johnny Depp, obviously. That's like, he crushed his introductory performance, and that's why he's one of the biggest stars Hollywood has ever fucking known. Mm-hmm. Nancy is mostly good, I would say, but there are some real clunker deliveries on some lines, too. Tina, I think, is good. Rod, I'm not so much of a fan of. He's just that classic, hey, what the fuck are you talking about? I just gotta be a hard ass all the time. Come on, man. Like, quit breaking my balls. But yeah, that, like you said, he turns back to Tina. He asks if her mom is home, and she had already answered she is home. He turns to her, he's like, she's not home, is she? And that's when he grabs her by the waist and fucking drags her off like a goddamn caveman. Carries her back into the house. He's like, we've got her mother's bed, you guys got the rest. And you can tell, like, Glenn's face is like, oh shit, yeah. I mean, take advantage of that shit, man. How great would it have been, instead of what we actually do get, to cut to them just fucking in every room of the house? They're like, all right. It would have been a little bit of a different rating maybe, but you know what? Subvert expectations, you know? But instead, they sleep in completely separate rooms. Glenn ends up on the couch.
And Glenn hates his life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you can hear him having sex,
Yeah.
after he just got denied.
And they try to leave before that all goes down, too. And Nancy's like, we should get out of here. Immediately, Tina opens the fucking door and she says, hey, you guys are staying, right? Don't leave me alone with this lunatic.
Yeah.
Ah, fuck.
Right.
Now we have to. And then right on cue, Rod walks up and claps a fucking hand over her mouth and drags her off again. Well, fuck me. Here we go. Glenn tries to pull some moves on Nancy, but she says, not now. We're here for Tina. What? No, not now is the perfect time. The only other people in the house are literally doing the same thing Glenn wants to do.
Right.
She says they're there for Tina. They still can be, you know? Glenn gets all annoyed at this part because Nancy's like, no, it's for Tina. And he goes, why is she so bothered by a stupid nightmare anyway? Nancy's answer is exactly my answer, because he was scary, bitch. Any other stupid questions?
Right.
They go back inside and lock the door. Glenn has to drag Nancy away from the window because she's just like on high alert. We cut to the middle of the night, specifically 2 a.m. The house is dark. Tina and Rod are still fucking. There's a sick panther clock that we see the time on, by the way. Did you get a load of this thing? I think it's dope.
This.
I want one. It's like a sculpture of a panther, like,
yeah, hell yeah.
kind of like poised over the clock. And like you said, Debbie, yeah, Glenn is just fucking miserable on the couch listening to these two go at it.
Yep.
Poor
Glenn.
He rolls over and he's like, morality sucks. Back in Tina's mom's room, why didn't they just stay in Tina's room? Why didn't they just do that? That's easier, I feel like, right?
I think it's because the mom had a bigger bed.
Maybe, but then you got to spend extra time on cleanup duty, you know? You got to be extra careful about it.
That's true.
But yeah, Rod comes and rolls over. He's like, Tina's like, I knew there was something about you I liked. It was Jungle Man fix Jane. At this point, they agree to no more fights. And, you know, it turns out they're right. They're never going to fight again.
Yeah, I guess you're right, man. You know?
In hindsight, yeah. But Rod lets slip at this point that he's been having nightmares too. Oh, shit. Big man finally.
Yeah, no more nightmares for either of us.
Yeah. He hadn't spilled the beans about that up to this point, probably because he's trying to put on a facade of, you know, like being a tough guy or whatever.
Right.
She's like, you've been having nightmares too? And he's like, well, you ain't got a corner on the market, you know? Like, guys can have nightmares. And then they go to sleep. We cut to Nancy sleeping in Tina's room. And the crucifix falls off the wall behind her, and the score is fucking popping off again.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
Which is amazing, yes.
fucking moment in this movie, the score is just... Whether or not you recognize what you're seeing on the screen as threatening or frightening or anything, auditorially, that score is just fucking you up. And
Yeah,
you're just
you have
waiting
anxiety.
you're just waiting for the fucking shoe to drop, whatever is going to, you know? So Nancy reaches back and grabs the crucifix and puts it next to her. There's a really great zoom shot back to the mom's room window, like from outside the house. It goes from like one to the other. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tina, heavy quotes around this, wakes up after hearing something.
Right.
It's just a little tap somewhere. She hears it again. It's like someone's throwing pebbles at the window.
Right.
And I really want Freddy outside just standing there with a boombox.
Or a sign.
And a sign. Careless whisper blasting out of the speakers. But yeah, she goes to the window to check it out, and another pebble hits the window. Yet another one breaks it a little bit. It gets like lodged halfway into the pane of glass.
Right.
And it's like sticking halfway in and halfway out. Super cool. Like, what are the odds of that? Freddy whispers her name, and she's like, who do you think you are? Whoever you are.
Yeah, might as well go investigate a strange noise outside.
Exactly.
like, you know, these moments got to happen right away. Like, you're not going to wake up Rod, you know?
Yeah.
Hey, Tina, which door am I at?
Yeah.
So back to Nancy, the wall above her starts to give way. And this is one of the coolest fucking effects, dude.
Oh, hell yeah.
The wall starts like stretching around Freddy's head and then his hands. The effect is so fucking cool. She goes to look, but just before she like tilts her head up appropriately, the face disappears. She puts the crucifix back up on the wall and knocks on it. Oh, looks like Freddy can't come back through now. Is that a part of it? You think the crucifix is like, did he knock it off of the wall so that he could manipulate the wall and come through? Is that a thing?
Maybe, yeah.
Is there a religious aspect to this movie? You don't fuck around with the J-Man?
The J-Man. Who's that?
Who's the J-Man?
Yeah.
JC, buddy. Johnny Carson. Oh, no. Once again, Yeah, speaking of going outside to investigate a strange noise, that's exactly what Tina does. Goes outside in her nightshirt out in the backyard. The lighting in this part is super fucking dope. There's so many cool, dramatic play with shadow and lights all over the place.
Right.
Fog rolling around. It's awesome.
It's like really blue for nighttime, you know?
Yeah. She walks back into the alley, and there's just fucking fog and garbage can lids rolling all over the place. And there's a big Freddy shadow that pops up on a big door at the end of the alley. And finally, Freddy reveals himself. Wait, let me rephrase. Freddy shows himself. Damn it. No. He steps into view. And this is where he's got that like Stretch Armstrong thing going on.
Yeah, dude, his arms get real long.
Yeah, they're like 12 foot long.
Right, dragging him across the fence.
And he says, Tina. I thought that was so fucking... The delivery on that was very like, oh, hey, the Teenster, Teen-tastic, Tina-rama, the Teeninator. But he like laughs maniacally as he like slowly walks toward her. He's like scratching his glove hand up against a metal door. Tina says, please God. And then he interrupts her and drops one of the better lines in this movie. This is God. And he holds up his hand.
Yeah, it cuts his fingers off and we get all that, green blood, you know?
Yeah. After he chases her back into
like
the backyard.
Yeah.
That's when he does that. But when he holds up his hand and says, this is God, the glove shot next to his face is really cool. That's another iconic one.
Yep.
The whole movie is shot phenomenally. Tina turns to run away from him, and Freddy chases her looking like a kooky old fucking hobo. Some like drunk toddler
her arms
teetering after her in the hall.
Wailing.
Yeah, down the fucking alley. He's like waving his hands around.
It looks like a monkey or
He
something.
does.
Like...
As she's running away from him, suddenly he fucking appears in front of her, causing her to turn and run back the other way. That's when she gets back home, closes the gate. She runs past the tree in her yard, and he pops out from behind it. This is a super cheesy 80s effect on this. Like, you can tell his image is superimposed upon the regular camera shot, and it's like he's kind of see-through.
Well, it's like the tree wasn't big enough for him to hide behind, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know, like everything was too small, so he just kind of...
Yeah. Well, it was like cartoony because like I wish the tree was like a lot skinnier, so when he like jumped behind it, there's no way he could hide behind it, but he disappears anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, the effect is really cheesy, but I think it really works here. Everything in this movie works so fucking well until we start closing it on the end, and we'll talk about that shit.
Yeah.
So that's when he tells her, yeah, watch this. And then for some reason cuts off 2 of his own fucking fingers. Why? Just to be weird?
And thinks it's hilarious.
Just to prove that he's got complete control to manipulate anything he wants? Like, he's got a crazy ass look in his face as he's doing it too. He's just like grinning about it.
Right.
Some kind of like green juice starts spewing out of his pinky stump.
Yeah, it's fucking sweet.
So Tina runs back into the house with Freddy fucking nipping at her heels. He's on her ass.
Oh, yeah.
And he kind of pins her up against the door while she begs Nancy to let her back in. And then Freddy fucking wrestles her to the ground and gets on top of her. Oh, fuck. That's not a position you want to be in.
Right.
At least if you're under a certain age. While she's on the ground trying to fight him off, Tina reaches up to scratch at his face or something and just kind of pulls his whole ass face off.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Revealing a skull underneath.
Yeah.
He's got the silly high-pitched classic skeleton laugh, you know, that. Throughout the whole thing, the score is fucking pumping. There's like tons of jump scare stings going on as well in the score. Like Michael Myers popping up and you get the kind of shit. There's all kinds of stuff like that going on in here. Tina screams and it wakes up Rod, finally revealing that she's been in bed this whole time and it's been a nightmare. Freddy is under the sheet with her and Rod freaks the fuck out, jumps out of bed, backs up into the corner. He pulls the sheet off of her to reveal no one is there. She's reacting to something in her dream. He yells for her to wake up, and then her shirt is pulled apart, and then all of a sudden 4 long-ass scratch marks, claw marks, appear on her abdomen. It's a really cool fucking effect.
Yeah.
Her skin just opens up.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
I always forget how striking certain things in this movie are and how much it would have been for audiences in 1984 to deal with.
When I first watched this, I was probably, I don't know, maybe 9-10 years old.
Right.
And this part stuck with me, like the whole scene of all this.
This kill is one of the
dramatic,
one of the greatest,
yes,
most
it's
iconic,
awesome.
Mind-blowing fucking kills in cinema history. This stuff, the Glenn fucking blood geyser later, like the fact that the police are like putting buckets on the floor in the living room because there's so much fucking blood. Shit is leaking out through the, like, that would have been a lot for people to deal with back then.
Yep.
But yeah, she's screaming for help. One of the coolest fucking death scenes ever, period. We cut back to her reacting to the slashes on her midsection, and then all of a sudden she just levitates into the fucking air, out of nowhere, starts spinning around, and I guess the idea is that Freddy is carrying her, but we don't see that.
Right.
Later on in New Nightmare, we do. We just see her floating through the air, spinning. She ends up contacting... She kind of like headbutts Rod as she's spinning through the air.
Right.
Knocks him to the side.
Sends him flying across the fucking room. Headbutts him into the fucking corner, basically. She ends up getting thrown into the opposite corner and then dragged up the fucking wall, upside down, to the ceiling, all the way, like, across the ceiling. Rod's freaking the fuck out.
Yeah, crawling on the ceiling. I mean, could you imagine, like, waking up and all this traumatic stuff is going on and you're just like...
No.
What?
No, I can't.
I can't either.
Yeah, Rod's freaking the fuck out, calling out to her as he's witnessing this impossible fucking scene. There's blood all over the place, all over Tina as she crawls away across the ceiling. They reach out for each other, and Tina screams out for Rod, which wakes Nancy up in the other room. And if I was Rod, I don't know, man, would you hang around in this moment just to be like, hey, look, can you see...
Yeah, I think
the blood trail going on, like, this is from blood spatter. Dexter would be proud that I used that word instead of splatter. But look at the fucking drag marks. That's from contact on the wall and on the ceiling. The body coming into contact with those parts.
Right.
How the fuck would I do that?
Yeah.
Please tell me how it would be possible
directly
for me
over
to...
the bed on the ceiling to back on the bed.
Right.
On the floor.
If he would have just left, he would have been in the clear. At least Nancy and Glenn could have. And if she's still in there screaming and you can hear her getting thrown around and he's in front of them.
Right.
Right.
He stayed in the room the whole time enough to where Glenn had to kick in the door. So hell yeah, it looked like he killed her.
Yeah. But I mean he leaves, making him look more guilty.
Right.
At the same time. And I mean, you're not going to have much of a choice. He doesn't stay hidden for long, obviously. I think isn't it like the next morning they end up picking him up. But either way, dude, like, I don't know. I feel like I might plead my case. Like, look, man, there's no fucking way. Tell me how, please.
I think in the heat of the moment also, he was like, I'm getting the heck up out of here. You know, like,
sure.
He just woke up.
What if whatever happened to her just happened to me? Or
yeah.
whatever just happened to her happens to me.
Right.
But yeah, Tina's on the ceiling. Suddenly she falls from the ceiling back onto the bed. Blood splashes all over the place. Then she bounces off the fucking bed onto the floor. Rod is horrified, just starts yelling, "Who did this? I'll kill you." Glenn sneaks up behind Nancy and scares her. It's kind of funny. But they finally get into the room to see the carnage, the blood everywhere, Tina on the floor, Rod is gone, the window's open. Holy fucking shit. This movie rules, or at least this scene does. God damn.
I thought this reaction was terrible. Nancy didn't even scream. Like, went in that door, and then she just stared before it cut to the next scene. Like, shouldn't you be horrified?
Yeah.
You're just going to stare at this crazy scene that you're coming upon?
I can vouch for that, though, because when I get scared and stuff, I, like, freeze up. I don't
okay.
I don't scream or get crazy. I'm just
not
like,
everybody reacts the same way, but I would say that there are a few... Part of the drawbacks of this early role for Heather Langenkamp was that she kind of didn't know what to do with her face sometimes.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah, there's a lot of that in the whole movie.
It's kind of the whole, like, acting is all about what you do with your hands. Your face is important, too.
Right.
Yeah. Grant was like, he taps me and he's like, he goes like that. And I'm like, oh my God. That's her face a lot of the time. Like, that's how it is.
Like,
so.
squinched up, trying to, like, make sense of what happened or whatever, yeah. So we cut to John Saxon and another cop, Sergeant Parker, Joseph Whipp, is the actor on that once again. They're talking as they walk into the police station, and they're discussing the details of the case. He mentions something like a razor was the weapon, but nothing was found at the scene. They assume Rod did it. Oh, of course, he's the musician type, arrested for drugs and brawling. Like, wait a second.
Brawling. Seems a little over-exaggerated, maybe.
So, as they near the end of this conversation, John Saxon asks, what was she doing there? And the cop goes, well, she lived there, so... He's like, no, not her. What was my daughter doing there? And he walks in and, like, pets her for a second. It's very Scream, or should I say that part in Principal Himbry's office in Scream is very Nightmare on Elm Street.
Right.
Yes.
But yeah, John Saxon walks into his office to see Nancy and his ex-wife sitting there, and they're not fucking happy to see each other.
Yeah, he says something about, what are you doing shacking up with 3 kids in the middle of the night?
Yeah. When he asks, like, what was she doing there? Having a fucking sleepover, man. What do you think? Sometimes places aren't as safe as you think they are, dude.
Especially with a delinquent.
Right? Yeah.
Like Rod.
Were you hanging out there with a delinquent like Rod?
Yeah.
John Saxon gives Nancy's mom a look like, what the fuck? And she just goes, hello to you too, Donald. Clearly not a great history here. Because he just looks back at her and he goes, Marge.
Right. You fucking bitch.
Is it weird, or is it just me, that Nancy is sitting behind a picture of herself on his desk? I mean, I have a picture of my daughter on my desk, so it's not that weird, but I don't know, just the image of us looking at it and she's sitting behind herself.
Yeah, it's
kind
weird.
of thing. So yeah, I'd like to know what you were doing shacking up with 3 kids in the middle of the night. Define shacking up.
Wild over there.
But he makes that mention of, yeah, especially a delinquent lunatic like Rod Lane. And Nancy has a super Forrest Gump delivery on this. She's like, Rod is not a lunatic, Dad.
Yeah.
Mom thinks that the whole thing was because Rod was jealous. And Nancy's like, no, it's not that serious. And Mom fires back with, oh, you don't think murder is serious? Like, that's not what I fucking meant. No, their fights weren't that serious, is what I mean. Nancy mentions that Tina had a nightmare predicting that this was going to happen. Dun, dun, dun.
Sorry, I keep yawning.
Don't fall asleep, dude.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
This episode's making me sleepy.
Nightmare score slowly creeps in. You hear any scratches right now, dude?
I don't think so. We're going to wake up and we haven't even been recording yet. This is just
That'd be crazy.
You're like, no. Dude, that's going to be the stinger at the end of the episode now. Oh, man, sorry, I keep yawning. Oh, fuck. So the news report the next morning, while Mom, quotes around this one too, prepares breakfast.
Right.
And by that I mean, of course, mixing a drink at like 7:30 in the fucking morning.
Yeah, dude, she's going hard. She's pulling bottles of liquor out all kinds of places throughout this movie. I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
I feel like we're supposed to be clued into, like, she's been doing this since
forever,
since the incident with Freddy. Since they killed Freddy.
Yeah.
And that has something to do with why her and John Saxon split.
Okay.
Because he's a very buttoned-up cop, you know, he's got his shit together. But the news report shows them hauling Tina's body out of the house, and it's the sloppiest fucking job of tactful camera operation I've ever seen. Why would they show this shit? They bag, the bag that they put her in is clear, first of all, which is fucking weird, right? That's not usual.
No.
And also, they can barely contain her in it. Her arm fucking flops out to the side. This shit's ridiculous.
Yeah, they're like leaning the cart and she's flopping all over, her arms out.
Yeah, this shit would never fly 40 years later in 2024. Let me tell you that. But Mom sees that Nancy has come in and she turns it off. She goes, Nancy's like walking toward the door. She's like, where do you think you're going? And she doesn't think Nancy should go to school, but she wants to anyway, or she'll go crazy in there. She goes, I'll sleep in study hall.
Yeah, I kind of thought that right away. Like, there was just a bloodbath last night, you know, overnight. So we're talking a few hours later going to school.
Yeah, I might have called it a day on that one too.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Damn.
Yeah.
Hey, she's dedicated, you know?
No, she's just trying to remain distracted. She doesn't
want to fall asleep.
She doesn't want to fall asleep. She doesn't want her mind drifting back to this shit, which I guess I get. So as she walks down the street, there's like a cool, distorted, kind of warped, garbled version of the score that kind of kicks in as she walks, or maybe that's just the 1984 audio on this movie. Nancy sees someone kind of lurking in the bushes across the street who is painfully obviously a plainclothes cop watching her walk.
Right.
She turns back to look at him and he disappears, and then Rod pops out from behind a bush and nabs her. Fucking claps a hand over her mouth. Once again, that's one of his favorite moves. He goes,
I'm not gonna hurt you.
Yeah. He's like, they're gonna kill me for sure. And Nancy asks if he did it, and he's like, well, no fucking of course I didn't do it. There was someone else there. And she rebuttals with, well, but the door was locked from the inside. And he's like, don't look at me like I'm some fucking fruitcake or something. I'm warning you. And why did you have to throw that last part in, my dude?
Now he sounds like a killer for sure.
Now you definitely sound like a killer. And at the exact moment when Nancy's dad, the lieutenant, is right fucking behind you.
Right.
So John Saxon pops up behind him with his gun drawn. And he runs, and Nancy kind of shields him from her dad. That's an interesting move.
Right.
Especially seeing how close she is to Daddy.
Yeah, I think she's just pissed off that, they essentially set up Rod using her, use her as bait, so.
Right. And that's what the fucking plainclothes cop was doing.
Right.
Rod runs barefoot in jeans and a fucking leather jacket down the road and is immediately surrounded by the cops.
Yeah, he wasn't very slick at all, man. He tried to kind of bob and weave a little bit, and it didn't.
Yeah, but he says, "I'm cool.
No, yeah. But that's where we officially see that they used Nancy as bait, set up a trap with her. And there's as they take Rod down to the ground and put handcuffs on him and shit, there's a little bit of a silly delivery where a cop pulls out the knife. He's like, "Oh, hey, look at this, a switchblade."
Yeah.
Right. Found the murder weapon.
Daddy asks, "What the hell were you doing going to school today for anyway?" But she still does, which is when we cut to good old Lynn Shay in the classroom, which I'm glad that she had this role because I do enjoy her in some later horror movies. She pops up here and there and stuff, and she's usually pretty good.
I feel like she's all over the place, man.
Mm-hmm.
She's in the Conjuring series.
Yep. Insidious.
Yeah.
She is talking about Shakespeare, specifically Hamlet here, and the moral of the story that she's talking about here is what is seen is not always what is real. And these characters in this play are always trying to get beneath the surface. So we're talking about the subconscious. We're talking about dreams. We're talking about what you're seeing not necessarily being reality. So we're just getting you into that mindset to open you up and accept more of what you're going to see. Mm-hmm. And then, oh God, she makes this poor kid read from Julius Caesar, poor John. Walks up to the front of the class to do it, by the way. And then in the back of the class, poor Nancy is nodding off. And you can totally see the point where she falls asleep right here.
Right.
It happens instantaneously. There's another part later on in the movie where it happens even faster, and I'm definitely going to point out. I actually pointed it out to Hannah as I was watching it. Come here and appreciate this with me because this is really cool fucking filming right here. So she nods off. And suddenly Tina in the fucking clear body bag is beside her, kind of pawing at it from the inside and saying Nancy's name.
Yeah, she was kind of half-ass waving at her.
Yeah. It's super cool how once she's in that dream, the kid at the front of the classroom reading all of a sudden takes a turn and his voice changes. And he's like,
right.
It's ominous and unsettling. Somehow it develops a bit of an Irish accent at the same time. He's reading directly at her, too. The final line is, "Were it not that I have bad dreams," and kind of trails off. Speaking of trailing off, we see a blood trail in the hallway. This whole fucking thing is really creepy. Nancy follows the trail into the hallway, sees Tina in her body bag laying on the floor, and then her legs get lifted off and she gets dragged the fuck away.
Right.
Yeah, this is another scene, when I was younger, that was
really fucks you up.
Yes.
It's stark imagery
scary.
for sure. I should mention that there's nothing there physically lifting her legs. The legs just lift and she's dragged by an unseen force kind of a thing. Call back to the news segment earlier. Her fucking arm flops out to the side and drags behind her. So Nancy begins running down the hallway to track down Tina. She runs into the hall monitor who's all dressed up like Freddy.
Yeah, what the fuck?
She's like, "Hey, where's your pass?" And this is another one of those goofy lines. She goes, "Screw your pass." I don't know why she chooses to whisper the last word, but it's fun. She runs off through a bunch of leaves in the hallway. There's a fucking pile of swirly leaves going on. But Freddy calls out to her, "No running in the hall." And she turns around and the hall monitor now has a Freddy glove on.
Yeah, it gives her a nice wave.
Mm-hmm. The blood trail goes down a stairway into the basement. And fucking read the sign, punk. No students allowed. Get the fuck back up there.
No students allowed.
Also, quit walking in the blood, you idiot. There's so much hallway for you to walk on that doesn't have blood.
Yeah, she's very close to the blood.
She definitely steps in it. I can't remember if there was a trail from that, but her foot is half in the fucking blood pile. That puddle.
I want to know why every boiler room has a set of curtains that you walk through instead of a door. It seems like anytime they pop up in the boiler room, it's a couple sets of sheets or something hanging, and he's always cutting through them,
I hadn't thought about that. I don't think that comes standard in boiler rooms.
That's what I'm saying. It seems strange.
I think it's because this is Freddy's little hangout, and he's trying to separate himself from...
Right.
This would be where he took his victims or whatever, so...
Gross.
What was that face?
He's a gross kid diddler is what he is.
I'm gonna ask a different question. What is up with the sounds of running water always being like? Why are all these boiler rooms so wet?
Yeah,
They're
dripping.
all fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time you see one, they're all fucking wet. There's
Because
like
all the steam.
Freddy's supposed to be repairing this shit and he's not. You know, terrible job.
Speaking of Freddy, he peeks out through some pipes and he kind of steps out and grunts. And she asks, "Who are you?" And he cuts his chest open and maggots and fucking more green pus comes pouring out of his tit.
Hell yeah.
And like, quit being weird and gross, dude. Like, I like how you can see the way he hangs his shoulder due to the weight of the glove. That's like, Robert Englund always talked about, like, when he was figuring out the character of Freddy Krueger, when he actually got the hero glove and put it on, the weight of it, like, made his shoulder kind of sink a little bit. So his posture is always that of his...
Like it's that heavy?
I don't think that it would be that heavy.
I was going to say, it can't weigh that much, right?
I mean, it's heavy leather and metal, so not to be confused with heavy metal and leather.
Maybe,
That's a whole
I
different
think
scene.
maybe because it was like just on like a glove, and this part of it was even cut out. So
Yeah.
maybe he was like holding it on.
Possibly, yeah.
So-
He felt wearing the glove that it wasn't covering enough, so he had to like do more work to keep
Yeah.
the knives up or something.
Right.
Yeah, I wish you could see
That
what we're
part of it
doing.
was heavy,
The
maybe.
gesture that we're doing is pretty fun right now, guys, but you'll never know what it is. But yeah, Robert Englund always talked about that being part of the character, the weight of the glove. And I feel like that's literal and metaphorical in a sense too, because of what the glove means, what the glove has done, you know?
Right.
So he raises that glove hand in the air and he walks after Nancy as she runs. Oh, she finds a dead end, unfortunately. And Freddy takes his time and he like scratches some pipes and he does, "Oh, I'm gonna get you. I'm coming." Nancy screams at this point, "It's only a dream." And this is where we get his iconic,
Come to Freddy.
Tongue flick.
yeah. Oh yeah, he does the
Yep,
nasty
yep.
tongue wiggle. Oh fuck.
Come for Freddy.
I feel like he's probably at his creepiest in this movie. I'm sure a lot of people would argue number 2 for that. But because we don't know a whole lot about this character at this point, because he looks just like a dirty old fucking hobo who you don't know the nasty limits he's capable of, you know?
Right. Yeah, there's no backstory yet. We haven't gotten
Yeah.
that far, you know. So this is all introductory.
Yeah.
You know.
He's not as much dream demon yet as he is just a nasty dude.
Right.
Like, this is before the extreme voice modulation. There is some of it in this to make
Right.
Robert Englund's voice more intimidating, whatever. But so Nancy burns her arm on a hot-ass pipe to wake herself up. She screams in class, scares the shit out of everybody. Lynn Shay comes back to help. She says she'll call her mother. Good fucking luck. She's probably sitting at home with a lampshade on her head about 10 seconds from passing out right now, the way she fucking drinks. But she goes, "I'm fine. I'll go straight home." And Lynn Shay's last line here is, "You only get a hall pass."
Yes.
Yeah. Wait a minute. Yeah, why didn't she screw your hall pass?
We see here that the burn followed her out of her dream as she's standing in front of the school. It's like a big ass red blotch on her arm.
Right.
And because of that, Nancy starts to put together the pieces like, oh shit, this is, you know, where the line is blurred between dream and wakefulness. So see what happens there. She visits Rod in jail and she goes, "Well, listen, dude, how could somebody be under the covers with you guys without you knowing about it?
Right.
I know you're kinky, but you can't be that oblivious to your surroundings." Like, Rod says that he never saw anyone, but someone cut her while he watched. You could just see the cuts happening
Right.
all at once. Invisible razors, he says. And then he starts like feeling remorse about it. He's like, "I probably could have saved her if I'd have moved sooner, but I thought it was just another nightmare." Oh, dun dun dun. Rod explains that he's been dreaming about Freddy too. Nancy says she doesn't think Rod did it. And then we cut back to the house. This house is so fucking sweet, dude. 1428 Elm.
Hell yeah.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah. That's a dope ass house. So back home, Nancy takes a bath and sings the Freddy song to herself as the score plays along. How the fuck does she know that song?
Yeah, damn.
Well, yeah, because in the beginning, Tina mentions just like the jump rope song.
Oh, so they are familiar with this
So
song
I
and not
think- yeah,
know where the
yeah,
origin of it
they
was?
are familiar with it.
Interesting.
The
Coming
jump
from
rope
their
song.
dreams, probably.
Well, Okay, so maybe they know the existence of the song, but not what it led back
So
to.
I wonder
because
if
the parents all
something-
kept it from them.
Something like that, yeah. Like,
Yeah.
there was a song. They
Yeah.
just knew of the song. You
It's
know?
just like all of us growing up. We fucking sing
Yeah.
all these songs. We know every word, but we don't really pay attention to what it means,
Mm-hmm.
you know, the story behind it. She's got a big-ass clamshell bath pillow. That thing's pretty fun.
Hell yeah.
And I found it interesting, the moment she finishes the song, she falls asleep. And the score gives like this deep synth hit, and Freddy's glove pops up from out of the water between her legs, which is such a fucking iconic image and scene in general. Speaking of posters, that's a classic. I believe if you visit Heather Langenkamp's site, you can order one of those signed by her. There's something special about seeing the suds from the bubble bath running down a dirty leather and metal knife glove that just warms the heart,
Yeah, hell yeah.
you know?
Yeah, it looks like that glove fucking stinks. You know?
Dude, speaking of which, this is where I realized, oh fuck, his sweater is sopping wet now. That smell cannot be good.
Gross. You wash that thing, Fred.
You gotta wash a hand.
Yeah.
Just before the glove can get to Nancy, her mom knocks on the door, and the arm like looks startled and like runs away.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's exactly what I thought too.
Oh, God.
shit.
Oh shit, what is that? Yeah. And she yells out the door, "What, mother?" Damn, rude. Relax. You're in a bath. She goes, "Don't fall asleep in there. You could drown, you know." And she also mentions that she heated up some warm milk for her. And
Yeah,
Nancy's
it's like, ew,
reaction was
gross.
mine, too. Yeah, gross. No thanks. I love me some milk, but not hot.
Milk was a terrible choice.
Just tasting like it's coming fresh out the cow.
Yuck.
So her mom walks the fuck away. She immediately falls back to sleep. And then the bottom of the tub drops out, and Nancy struggles to get back out. She's screaming for her mom. Mom eventually unlocks the door with a coat hanger, but by the time she gets there, Nancy is out. And she's like, "Oh, I just slipped getting out of the tub." And you fucking scream like that and thrash around for slipping?
Yeah.
This is a really good scene, I think. It almost looked like she was like trapped under ice. Kind of. She got pulled under enough to where the bathtub looks small.
Well,
Like the opening.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the danger of falling in the ice is the same as the danger here, I feel like, because when you fall into the ice, you might get carried further away from the hole by
Right.
a current or something, or just drifting underwater.
Right.
So that's the danger. You can't get back to the hole to get yourself the fuck back up.
Right.
Same idea here with the bottom of the tub dropping out, and she like drifts away from it. She's trying to fucking get herself back to
Right.
that tub hole to
Yeah.
Yeah.
climb back out of.
The old tub hole.
I'm digging a shithole, crap hole, outhouse hole. So Nancy finds some stay awake pills in the medicine cabinet. STA awake.
Hell yeah.
She ends up dozing off watching The Evil Dead anyway. Hell yeah. Nice job, Wes. Thanks for throwing
Yeah.
that in here. She gets up and turns off the TV. She opens up her window, and Glenn, holy fuck, he's already climbing up the side of her house. How convenient. He lives right across the street.
Right.
And he's like climbing up the rose trellis on the front of the house. He comes into her room and lays on her bed, but she nixes that shit real quick.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. He gets up and moves the TV off of her chair. Wait, why was it on the fucking chair? People are doing weird shit with TVs in this movie.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't young enough, but we didn't really just move the TV around.
No.
Like the TV sits
Yeah,
where
no.
it sits.
Therefore, it sits on a table, or if the TV was big enough and old enough, just on the fucking floor.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, "No, get the fuck up off my bed. That shit ain't happening." He gets up and moves that, and he says something to her about like, "Oh, I heard you freaked out in English class today." She mentions she hasn't slept. He asks about the wound on her arm. She goes, "I burned it in English class." And he gives her like a fuck, you what? In English class where there's no fire?
Yeah.
Nancy looks in a mirror and she goes, "Oh God, I look 20 years old."
Yeah.
Listen,
damn.
bitch. I wish I looked 20 years old. All right?
Same.
Nancy asks Glenn if he had any weird dreams, but he says, "No, I slept like a rock." And she goes, "Do you believe people can dream about what's going to happen?" And he just gives a very simple no. "Do you believe in the boogeyman?" No. He goes, "Rod killed Tina, you know that." But then Nancy asks a crazy favor of him. She goes, "I'm going to go and look for somebody, and I need you to stand guard." And he gives her the fucking like weird Twilight Zone gesture. He's like, "Woo!" You know? He's like, "All right, fuck it, whatever, I'll do it." She tells him to turn off the light, and he's like, "Okay, here we go." She's like, "All right, here's what we're going to do." And no, it's not what you're thinking. We cut to her next dream sequence where she walks out the front door and into the foggy night. And she walks down the sidewalk while the score does some more work. This is a really cool, like, it's a nice little vibe there. So she walks between a couple of houses and then turns to ask Glenn if he's still watching. And he pops out from behind a fucking tree and then ducks back behind it as she continues. I feel like that's a little bit more of that dream sequence, like him disappearing into like a liminal space of some sort behind the tree.
It's definitely kind of weird because it leaves you wondering if she's dreaming or not necessarily, because if Glenn's there and showing up,
right,
is Glenn sleeping too?
Yeah,
you just don't know.
Because she doesn't fully explain what her plan is. I'm sure
Right.
she told him and we just didn't see, but
right.
all of a sudden, it just cuts to her being outside, and then him popping out behind the tree is weird. And then why does he go back behind it rather than staying on the fucking sidewalk and just
Right.
watching her?
Yeah.
Just more weird dream shit. So these houses that she walks in between, there's some like broken glass in the door, and then she walks through that to find the police station. So now I feel like we're clued in. She doesn't live around the corner from the fucking police station. This is clearly a dream.
Right.
So she walks to a barred window to check on Rod, and then Freddy walks in almost immediately. Nancy starts calling for Glenn right the fuck away because she's like, oh God, he's here. Wake me up. Wake me up. Like, all you did is see him. And by the way, he's had your number this whole fucking time. Like, you don't have to worry about it. He's been in control since moment one. This is his world. But Freddy walks right through the bars and over to Rod. He like grabs the sheet and like laughs looking up at Nancy, and he's just like toying with her.
Oh yeah.
Rod wakes up, or does he? Nancy turns to call Glenn again, but she sees Tina in her body bag again. And this like big old millipede crawls out of her mouth. There's like a pile
super
of
nasty
eel/slug/worms at her feet.
Right. Gross guts.
Yeah. She goes, Glenn, are you there? And then all of a sudden we hear, I'm here. And then fucking Freddy pops up out of a bush. He chases her back to the house while the score kicks up some more. She tries to throw a trash can in his way, and he stops to toss it, although he didn't really need to. Like, he kind of goes out of his way to grab the trash can and throw it. He does that a couple of times in this movie. It's kind of goofy, but gotta follow the stage direction, I guess. Nancy gets home. She locks the door. She tries to run up the stairs, but she sinks into some kind of fucking marshmallow goo.
Dude, it looks like quicksand. I think that's what they were going for, is quicksand, but it definitely looks like...
It was marshmallow goo, dude.
Yes,
I promise
sure.
you.
That's exactly what I put down too.
Is it really?
Yes.
So Freddy gets there. He punches through the window in the front door, that is, and he puts his face up to it and then does one of the most fucked up things that has happened in movies up to this point, I feel like. And he puts Tina's face on top of his own face, and he fucking like uses her voice for a second, calls out to Nancy. This is fucked up, man. Like...
I love it.
It was giving me like chainsaw.
Texas Chainsaw vibes.
Texas Chainsaw
hell
vibes.
1,000%, yeah. So Nancy finally makes it out of the goop. She runs back to her room, hoping to find Glenn, and she does, but he's passed out.
Fuck. What did I tell you, Glenn?
Right. You had
You
one
bastard.
job.
Yeah. I asked you for one thing. Don't fall asleep.
She tells herself in the mirror it's just a dream, he isn't real, and then he busts through that mirror and tackles her under her bed. They wrestle around on that for a minute.
Dude, I love he picks up the pillow and cuts it and doesn't need to at all.
Well,
like you said.
no, he's
Just
not the one that picks it up. We'll get to that in a second. That's a huge fucking note that I had. That, oh my God, I hate this part. They roll to the floor, right? He lifts her back up to her feet, but she like shrugs him off and chooses to defend herself in that moment with her pillow. She fucking holds it up in front of her face like it's gonna do shit. And he slashes through that. The fucking feathers go everywhere.
Yeah, he's like fucking around with her, dude. He's like throwing the feathers kind of like.
This was one of the first moments where you could see some of the behind the scenes stuff coming through, and not in a good way, because like it cuts from the initial like explosion of feathers.
The poof.
The poof.
Yeah.
The plume of feathers. And as they like are wrestling around on the bed, there's a few dropping from in front of him. But when they cut to that next part, there's like way less feathers up above, and then a whole big old another batch drops down from above.
Oh,
so clearly
okay.
the production team there, okay, release the feathers, whatever.
Cue the feathers.
They should have did it a little higher, that way you could see them fall better.
Yeah, maybe. So they roll back off the bed right at Glenn's feet. It's crazy seeing him completely still and unfazed as they fight around him.
Yeah, you can see his leg moves and he like jostles around a little bit.
And this room is fucking destroyed.
It's because they're in Nancy's dream, though.
Yeah.
So it's not...
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He's not affected by that part.
So was he then not sleeping?
Glenn was sleeping.
Originally.
He was, because he gets woken up in a moment, which, actually right after that.
Like in the dream sequence with her saying, hey, Glenn, you're still keeping watch? Was he not? Because now he is asleep and he's sleeping in her dream.
At a certain point in that, yes, he dozed off. Glenn is a piece of shit and does not do his job. Multiple times in this movie, he's a piece of shit that doesn't do his job.
That's the thing with these scenes, though, is I think it's supposed to be kind of confusing, so you're not really sure.
Right.
You know, Glenn's there.
That's part of the fun in this fucking movie, dude.
Yep.
Is trying to guess where that line gets blurred.
Yep.
Right.
You know?
Glenn's sleeping, but he's in the dream, but he's not there. You know, it's all to confuse you. And
Right. So Nancy's alarm, conveniently located on the floor directly next to her head, starts going off, and she wakes up screaming, and this is when Glenn shoots up too. Yes, he fell asleep because he's a dick.
You bastard.
And she's pissed at him. Like I said, you had one fucking job. She calls him a shit and smacks him in the knee. At this point, Nancy's mom knocks at the door, and Glenn hauls ass out the window. Nancy tells him to stay on the roof. She gets back in bed as her mom opens the door. If that was an option, why are you just now playing that card? Like, just opening the door. She knocks for a minute.
Right.
But clearly she was just screaming, get the fuck in that room. Nancy, of course, says it's just a dream, Mom. Nancy calls to Glenn after Mom leaves, but there's no answer, as like a single feather floats down to the windowsill. So Glenn just fucking abandoned her? ? But we cut to them running into the police station. So I guess he wasn't far. They just didn't. It was a strangely edited scene, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Like she reacted as if he was gone, but then there they are together in the next scene. As soon as they walk into the police station, Nancy yells, Garcia! Fucking at the cop behind the desk, like, fucking the boss's kid walking in.
I was going to say.
Acting like they own the place.
Yeah. Hey, jump up and do some shit for me.
I gotta see Rod now.
Little asshole. Like, she's his fucking police commissioner. She tells him she needs to see Rod. He's like, I took the night shift so I could get some peace and quiet. So she fucking screams at him and slams her hands down. It's urgent. The look he gives her here is fucking amazing. He's like, what? This little bitch.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Please.
In the cell that Rod is in, the sheets begin to move over him as the score like drones a little bit. The sheet starts twisting and Freddy laughs in the background. The sheet rope starts to like wrap its way around his neck. And then we cut back to the front desk where Glenn says, we have reason to believe something strange is happening. But then Daddy Thompson replies from the corner, I got no argument with that. He's like, I don't like unsolved murders, especially ones my daughter's mixed up in. What are you doing here?
Yeah, what are you doing here at this hour? Which, holy shit, man.
And then,
it's like 3 a.m., you know?
Yeah, and Nancy fires back with, I'm sorry, I just want to see if he's okay. That is not a fucking acceptable answer for you to be here in the middle of the night.
with Glenn, like
with Glenn,
yeah,
you're both minors, like. So the sheet wraps around Rod further in the other room. Nancy wants Dad to go check on him, but Garcia says that he can't find his keys. This is about the moment when Rod wakes up and yells as he gets pulled toward and up the wall, just like Tina, but by the neck this time and upright instead of upside down by the ankle. It's convenient that he dies at the moment they all fucking arrive too.
Yeah, they're like literally
like
seconds late, you know.
So he's hanging by the sheet, but then all of a sudden it's like Freddy pulls on it extra hard and breaks his neck or something,
right,
to complete the job. They cut to Rod's funeral, and the priest here says something about he who lives by the sword will die by the sword.
Yeah,
but at the same time, in the next breath, he's like, but let's not be judgy, y'all. Like,
yeah.
I didn't think, is that something somebody would say at a fucking funeral? It just seemed so out of place.
Him throwing shade at Rod. He who lives by the sword will die by the sword. You
got
what you deserved, you bitch.
Yeah, that's what I got by it.
Because he's a murderer.
He's a delinquent.
I gotcha. Right away, I was like, "What? Why would they fucking say that?"
This is the priest being regretting the fact that he was the one chosen to officiate this funeral. You know.
Okay.
So is that Rod's dad who is sitting there in the chair and then looks up at the chief?
I think so. Yeah. John Saxon gives him a little nod. This is a really nice little, definitely not Ohio cemetery with the fucking palm trees and shit again.
Yeah, I didn't notice one palm tree the whole movie.
Yeah. So Nancy and her mom walk down from the steps of this thing. Wait, hang on. What you said didn't register fast enough. You said you didn't see any palm trees?
I didn't notice. I didn't notice a
damn.
palm tree the whole movie.
Dude, they're fucking everywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm guessing maybe I am the audience that they were hitting with that stuff. Like, oh yeah, hey, there's some palm trees, and I'm sure.
Well, like I said,
a
again,
couple people are gonna notice.
When they were filming this movie, they didn't give a fuck because the location wasn't specified yet. I don't think it necessarily took place in Ohio in 1984 when they made this. That was something that was decided later. Like, where should we locate Freddy in the world? You know,
it's like the same shit.
Yeah.
This happened in Scream too, right?
In Scream 2.
In Scream also.
Actually, no. Appropriately, yes, in Scream
Yeah.
2 because Woodsboro is in California, but the university they go to, what college? What's the college called?
I don't even remember.
Whatever it's fucking called, that's located in Ohio. I don't know why people in California would go to college in Ohio. That's strange, but anyway. Nancy and her mom walks over to the car, and then Lieutenant Thompson joins them. And Nancy yells at Dad that the killer is still on the loose. He asks who it is, and she goes, well, I don't know, but he's burned, and he wears a weird hat and a red and green sweater, really dirty, and he's big, and he plays football, and he'll kick the shit out of you.
Big Scream vibes.
Yeah, his name wouldn't be Steve. JK. But Mom seems to recognize at that moment who she's talking about. She goes, he uses these knives like giant fingernails, and John Saxon just pushes her into the car like, okay, you crazy kid.
Right. Yeah, Mom says she's going to get her some help.
Yeah, John Saxon mentions, like, you need to take her home and keep her there. She's like, fuck that. I got a better idea. And this is where I clocked the California plates on the car. As Nancy's mom shittily drives her way away from the cemetery, and I realized, oh shit, she's probably drunk. No.
Yes, she is.
So yeah, Mom takes Nancy instead of home to the Katya Institute for the study of sleep disorders. They're hooking her up for a sleep study, and she asks why they can't just give her a pill to stop dreaming. Good question. We'll revisit that in later installments in this franchise.
I laughed when I seen how they had her hooked up to whatever this machine's supposed
Just
to be.
wires all over the place.
2 wires on her face.
Yeah.
Figure out what she's doing while she's dreaming. I'm like, what
Yeah.
the fuck is that?
Yeah, my son has had sleep studies, and yeah, it's definitely a lot more. Maybe not in 1984,
Yeah.
but
I don't know what the
it's
fuck you're
definitely
talking
a lot more.
about 2 wires, because I've had a sleep study and fucking
They're everywhere.
They are everywhere. You have to wear a fucking harness.
Yes, you have to
holding
spin
a
around.
battle pack to
Yep.
fucking keep the shit working. Like, oh my
Holy
god,
shit.
it's nuts. This is not a sleep study.
Yes.
This is a prehistoric sleep study.
Yeah.
So Nancy asks about, like, why can't I just get a pill to stop dreaming? He goes, the doctor there goes, everybody's got to dream, young lady. If you don't dream, you go. And like, what the fuck is that supposed to mean? He just points to his head like you go crazy.
Right.
So Nancy doesn't want to, but she gives in eventually. Mom and the doctor end up watching as Nancy just lies awake for a while. At least I think her eyes looked open at this point.
As she lights a cigarette.
Yeah, in the hospital. 1984.
Mm-hmm.
The doctor asks how long it's been going on, like how long has Nancy gone without sleep? And she goes, since the murders. She thinks her dreams are real. And he goes, well, I think she's just a normal girl who happens to have gone through 2 days of hell. And then it cuts back to her, and okay, now she's sleeping. Mom lights her cigarette. She goes, what the hell are dreams anyway? And his answer is totally fucking not acceptable. He's like, mysteries.
Yeah.
Incredible body hocus pocus. Like, really? If the answer, or if the word hocus pocus is in your fucking answer to my question, oh man, I pull her out. I got to find a new doctor.
Yeah, I didn't feel like this guy was a good actor at all. He just came off
Well, he's certainly
stupid
not
as fuck.
Yeah, he's certainly not a good doctor.
Yeah, he didn't have the answers.
Right.
He goes, the truth is we still don't know what they are or where they come from. But he mentions that Nancy's heart rate is a little bit high, but probably just due to anxiety. Otherwise, she's relaxed. She could dream at any time now. And ooh, here we go. Apparently, we got a good one. The needles
Be a good.
The needles on this machine start going crazy, and apparently if it were a nightmare, the readings on the machine would be at a plus or minus 5 or 6, and right now she's at a 3, so we're good. We hear some knives scraping. She jerks in bed a little bit, and the readings on the computers are then fucking going apeshit, fucking 10, 15, 20, 30, oh fuck, here we go.
Damn.
If plus 5 or 6 is a nightmare, God damn, what's 30?
Right.
Oh, God. Oh, no, thank you. Needles are off the charts. She does a little, like, Reagan-style seizing in the bed.
Yeah, she starts flailing around.
They rush in to wake her up, and some of her hair has now turned to gray. Which I think means she can suck energy out of your face if she wants to, right? Is that how that works? The doc tries to give her a shot to help her sleep, but she freaks out again. They discover that her arm has been slashed, but it looks like it was by a tiny little baby Freddy.
Yeah, that's
there's
what I
like
thought too.
There's 3 little tiny cuts, like super close together.
Kitty scratch or something.
Yeah.
Oh, Freddy Kitty.
Yeah, but the bigger thing here from this entire scene is she brought out his fucking hat.
Mm-hmm. Pulls it
Holy
out from the
shit.
cover. She says she grabbed it off of his head. We cut back to the house, and Nancy comes downstairs the next morning and hears Mom talking on the phone to someone about the whole ordeal. I think probably her dad, I would assume.
Right.
She hangs up and hides her liquor bottle when she sees Nancy, which again, what the fuck's the point at this point, Marge?
Right.
Yeah.
Mom goes, "You didn't sleep at all last night, did you?" And Nancy fucking downs a cup of coffee like it was a contest. She goes, "You have to sleep and then Nancy interrupts her, "or I'll go even crazier. Did you ask Daddy to have the hat examined?" Nancy asks her mom, but she says, "No, I threw that shit away." And she says something about she doesn't know what Nancy is trying to prove. And basically the answer is that Rod didn't kill Tina, first and foremost.
Right.
She says, "This guy is after us in our dreams." And Mom says that's not reality, but Nancy pulls the hat out of the trash can like, "It's real, Mama." That had some real Carrie energy to this delivery, I felt like.
Right.
Yeah, it's real. Feel it, Mama.
The hat has his name written in it, apparently. Fred Krueger. I don't like Fred.
I don't
either. Yeah.
You can't say Fred. You got to go Freddy every time.
Yep.
No Fred, no Frederick.
Even as I was taking my notes, I didn't write Fred.
No, me neither.
The only one
Freddy.
I would accept is Frederico, because then you can call him Rico.
Frederick Krueger.
Frederick. Frederick.
Krueger.
Oh yeah, you have to roll the
roll
the R for like twice as long in the second. Frederick Krueger. So she says his name and asks if Mom knows who that is, and she kind of doesn't answer. She goes, "You'll feel better when you get some sleep." She goes, "Feel better?" And she holds up her bandaged arm. She's like, "You call this feeling better?" And then, holy shit, dude.
Cross the line a little bit.
Ooh, big time. She goes, "Or maybe I should just grab that bottle and veg out with you. Avoid everything happening to me by just getting good and loaded." Damn!
Yeah. Oh.
Wow, you're grounded for 7 months.
Yeah, she got smacked, and I
Yeah.
expected that to happen, yeah.
You know, if it were us growing up,
Yeah, no,
absolutely.
appropriate.
Yeah.
A couple teeth would have been missing.
Right.
Yeah, Mom hauls off and fucking backhands her, but like, they go right back to the conversation. It's just a regular occurrence back then. Mom says to Nancy, "Freddy can't come after you because he's dead." And then Nancy's like, "Oh, fucking gotcha. You knew about him this whole time. You just confirmed." She's been acting like she just made the whole thing up.
Right.
Mom says there's something wrong with you and then grabs the bottle of vodka. Nancy grabs it from her and then fucking smashes it right next to her bare feet. Eek.
Yeah.
She fucking screams, "Screw sleep."
She's got multiple backup bottles. She
Yeah.
didn't flinch.
Yeah.
Fuck it,
She
one
gets her
down.
vodka from Sam's Club.
That would have been gone today
By the
anyway.
case.
I liked that Nancy like threw the hat at her chest and it just dropped to the floor as she walked away. That was the equivalent of a mic drop. Nancy and Glenn, this is the part where they walk to the bridge that's totally in the heartland of America, the Midwest, with these beautiful palm trees everywhere. The huge one right next to their
Huge.
fucking heads.
Oh, you know what? I do remember the one in this scene now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
This scene stood out to me so much, and
They're like on a backlot at a Hollywood studio, dude.
did they really need to do this whole bridge scene just to show her having a fucking booby trap book? Because that's the only point of the scene to me, I thought, for the most part.
Glenn talks about the ancestry of dreams. Is that when he talks about that?
He asks her if she's ever heard of or read about the Balinese way of dreaming.
Yes.
And he says something about they practice sleep skills. And basically, she asks it, like, what if they encounter a monster in their dreams or whatever? And he says they just turn their back on it.
Yeah.
Take away their energy, and you take away the threat. So yeah, this is where they're talking about that.
This is a very important scene.
It extremely. This is the important scene.
Gotcha.
So they walk onto the bridge. Glenn mentions because he's got a bag of fast food or some shit. He's like, oh, I always eat when I get nervous. And she goes, well, yeah, and if you can't do that, you sleep. He's like, well, I used to, not anymore. And yeah, he says, have you ever read about the Balinese way of dreaming? They have the sleep skills. Instead of screaming and getting all nuts, you say, okay, I'm going to make up my mind that I fall into a magic world. I make it something special like a poem or a song. They, apparently the Balinese get all their art and literature from dreams. They just wake up and write shit down.
Yep.
This is where Nancy says, what if they meet a monster? He says, they turn their back on it, take away its power, and it disappears. And she goes, well, what if they don't? He says, I guess they don't wake up to tell what happens. So Nancy is doing a little light reading. That's where we get the booby trap book. It's booby traps and improvised anti-personnel devices.
Right.
This is where we get one of her best lines. She goes, I'm into survival. She walks away and he goes, you're starting to scare me. Nancy gets back home to find the entire house has been barred up. Holy shit.
Yeah. Fucking crazy.
She looks at it and goes, gross. The fucking rose trellis has also been torn off the house and just tossed in the yard.
Yep.
Nancy whacks the column all pissed as she goes back in. She slams the door and yells, Mother! Mom sachets out of the kitchen with a fucking cigarette holding a bottle of vodka like a damn newborn.
Yep.
Yeah, mom's wasted.
Yeah. Nancy goes, what's with the bars? She goes, security. Goddamn, this whole house is a panic room now. Mom tells Nancy to come down to the cellar. She's got something to talk to her about. Ruh-roh.
Why couldn't you have told her the story in the nice living room? Why'd you have to go down to the scary fucking...
Because she wanted to illustrate it in the place where she's hiding the fucking evidence.
And yeah, I don't know.
She goes over to the wood stove in the basement. She opens it up. She goes, Freddy was a filthy child murderer who killed at least 20 kids in the neighborhood. Kids we all knew. God damn, that's a lot.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
20 kids
That's
in your neighborhood?
At
Shit.
least 20.
Yeah.
Cops are terrible, dude.
Nancy asks whether they put him away or whatever, and her mom goes, well, the lawyers got fat and the judge got famous, but somebody forgot to sign the search warrant in the right place, and Krueger was free, just like that. She says a bunch of the parents then fucking tracked him down, found him in an old abandoned boiler room where he used to take his victims, and they burned him alive.
Good riddance.
So she goes, that's why it's okay. He can't get you now because mommy killed him. This is, again, stop talking to her like a toddler. She's like a fucking junior in high school. Mom pulls the glove out and unwraps it. She's been keeping it in the wood stove this whole fucking time. She says, it's okay, you can sleep. And then we cut to Glenn in bed. He's watching TV. He's got headphones on, listening to something completely fucking different.
He's got a sick belly shirt on.
Yeah, Grant mentioned something about that. He's like, what is he wearing?
Nice fucking half shirt, dude.
I don't know. Nancy should have been wearing it instead of him. It's just an observation. You know what I mean?
So he hears the phone ring, which is good sound design as he removes a headphone and then the music fucking starts playing a little louder, which sucks. The music, that is. But whatever.
What was he listening to? Did you notice?
I didn't hear anything specific. It was just
80s.
80s.
Yeah, I like some 80s, man. It's just got to be the right day. You know?
So Nancy's on the phone and she goes, stand by the window. You feel a million miles away. He opens the curtain. She goes, oh, much better. And then he looks across the street at her behind the bars and shit. He's like, you look like the prisoner of Zenda or something. Apparently at this point, it's been 7 days since Nancy has slept. She's like, well, don't worry, I checked Guinness. The record is 11. But she says she knows who the killer is, and if he gets to me, you're next. He goes, well, why would anybody want to kill me? Don't ask 2024 Johnny Depp that question. I don't know if you heard, but amber might be the color of their energy. She goes, don't ask. Just give me some help nailing the guy when I bring him out of my dream.
Gross.
And he's like, you can't bring someone out of a dream. She goes, well, if I can't, fine. This is just a case of me being nuts. And he goes, I can save you the trouble. You're nutty as a fruitcake, but I love you anyway. Aww. So sweet.
How sweet.
But then she goes, well, good. I'm glad you love me because then you won't mind cold cocking this guy when I bring him out. She has one of the best fucking lines, dude. She's going through her plan. She was like, I'm going to fall asleep, find him in my dream. You wake me up. We both come out. You whack the fucker and we got him, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Chef's kiss fucking line right there. I got to get that tattooed somewhere. She tells Glenn to meet her at her front porch at midnight. But whatever you do, don't fall asleep. Glenn goes back to his bed, right back to what he was doing. And Nancy sits at her desk. She's like reminiscing over a picture of the four of them. Where did this fucking picture come from? Because they all acted like they didn't know Rod that well.
Oh, okay.
Didn't they? Like earlier in the movie, they were like, "Oh yeah, he's fucking some
I don't
kind
know
of
if they
lunatic
didn't
or whatever,"
know him or just didn't like him so much. Because it seems like it's just Tina's shitty boyfriend that
that's
she's
how-
stringing along.
But this picture
That's
is the
how I
fucking
got it.
cover of a sitcom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like they're the best of friends. They've known each other their entire lives. I don't know.
We know Rod, but Rod's a dick, you know? Still like him, though.
So Nancy's trying to keep from nodding off. She takes more drugs with her coffee. And then Glenn's mama comes to check on him. She knocks, but he can't hear because of his headphones, so she lets herself in, and she gives him a little tummy tickle and shoots awake. Ooh, I got your belly. Who's got my belly? He explains that he wasn't listening to the TV, just watching it. And he goes, Miss Nude America is going to be on tonight. She goes, how can you hear what she has to say? He's like, who gives a shit what she has to say?
Yeah, who cares what she says?
She tells him to go to bed because it's almost midnight. Ooh, midnight. Where have I heard that before? He checks the clock. It's 11:42 at this point. The next hour in real time of this movie universe, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Is fucking batshit crazy in
Yeah.
this neighborhood. God damn.
Damn!
So back in Nancy's room, her mom is telling her everything's over. She definitely has a bottle of drugs in her coffee cup. Or wait, that's Nancy's coffee cup. Oh wait, coffee cups, plural, and pot. Mom leaves and she pulls her fucking spare coffee pot, as a matter of fact, out from under her nightstand. A staple in every home. I have my spare coffee pot in my bedroom.
That shit was crazy. It was plugged in hot. The coffee
Yeah,
was already
it
brewed.
Yeah, the light was on. Little
It was
light.
ready to go.
Right. Like that whole room had to smell like a fresh, pot. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
This is one of the greatest horror scores of all time. It just does not fucking quit this entire movie. I noticed it again right here and I wanted to mention it again. Fantastic. She pulls a spare coffee cup out from under her goddamn pillow. That couldn't have been comfortable. But, she has to change and we get a little more Nancy side boob. Oh, double side boob, as a matter of fact.
Nice.
She...
Yeah, Grant thought it was nice. It's like, more.
She looks out the window and across the street to Glenn's house, and his dad is standing on the porch staring at her.
Drinking a beer, staring out the window.
Yeah, she closes the blinds on him. Like,
This fucking kid is ruining our life.
yeah, he says to his wife, "I think that kid's some kind of lunatic." And Glenn's mom just says, "Marge is just being cautious with the bars, whatever."
Yeah, I don't want that kid hanging out around our son anymore.
Right.
You know it's bad when, it's the end of the night. It's like, you just said, it's like damn near midnight.
Mm-hmm.
He's standing out front. He's fully clothed still, so he's not like ready for bed yet. He's
Right.
not in his robe, winding down. He's out front with a beer crack, staring at the house, like shaking his head.
Hell yeah.
Fucking Nancy.
It's ruining our lives.
Yeah.
So back in Nancy's room, she cleans up her arm wound a little bit. It's 10 till midnight. Nancy goes to walk out of her room and has to close the door immediately because here's where we see Marge in the fucking hallway pulling another fucking liquor bottle out of the linen closet. I think at this point she is the liquor. Yeah.
Fucking take it easy, lady. Fucking liquor.
And then, God, when she grabs this bottle, Jesus, bottoms up, boy. She just fucking...
Chugs.
Oh, my God. Nancy calls Glenn, but he's asleep. Mom answers.
I love this too, dude.
Me too.
His dad is awesome.
Yeah. His dad wants to know why she wants to talk to Glenn, and she just says, she just says it's very private and very important. And Dad grabs the phone. He's like, Glenn's asleep. You'll have to talk to him tomorrow. Hangs the fuck up on her.
And then unplugs it from
He
the
goes-
wall, too.
Well, no, yeah, he
be firm
says,
with these
you've
kids."
got to be firm with these kids. And then he takes the phone off the hook. Fuck you, Nancy.
Be playing on my phone.
So, because of this reaction, like she tries to call him back and can't get through. Nancy freaks out a little bit. She sits down on the bed, and I want to point out here how quickly she falls asleep, and nobody realized it.
Oh,
This
yeah.
is my favorite fucking part in the movie, because as soon as she sits down, she does so like with her eyes closed, like she's just like trying to take a moment and gather herself.
Right.
But boom. That is exactly the moment she
she-
falls asleep because the phone rings like 3 seconds after that. Boom. And that can only happen. Like when she answers the phone, what she hears is Freddy's knives scratching on something.
Right.
The only way she can experience that is if she herself is asleep.
Right.
So this, like, it's a seamless fucking thing, but we go from Nancy's, consciousness to her dream state in a fraction of a second, and it's insane.
Been up for 7 days,
Yeah. So she hears those, and she fucking rips the phone cord out of the wall. And she peeks out her bedroom door again. This time Mom is gone. But as she's about to leave, the phone rings again. Even though that's impossible, the phone is now completely unplugged from the wall.
Right.
And in 1984, you couldn't walk around with an unplugged phone, you guys. By the way, is that a poster of the band The Police on the wall?
I didn't notice.
Is that for Daddy? Like, of course my favorite band is The Police, Daddy. You know that.
That's the 80s, though. Police were huge.
So this is where we get the phone ringing again, even though it's impossible. Nancy goes and answers it. And then all of a sudden, we get a fucking Freddy phone, and it goes, "I'm your boyfriend now, Nancy." And the fucking phone slips her a little tongue.
Yeah, it's like his chin is on the bottom half of the phone, his mouth's open.
Yeah, super gross. She screams and stomps on the phone. She says to herself, "Oh, my boyfriend." I felt like that was a weird line. But the point is she needs to go check on him, see what the fuck's going on. She runs downstairs and tries to go outside, but the door is locked. And drunk-ass Mom on the couch, she's like, locked. Everything is locked. I had to lock it up. I did it. I had to.
I have never lived somewhere in my life where the padlock for the door was operated by a key on both sides.
Yeah.
To where
They have them.
I know they do. And that just seems like that's not a thing. I mean, people don't do that anymore.
Generally speaking, unless
Right.
they have to keep something in. Yeah, they don't.
Right.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
That's a terrifying sentence. That might be the scariest thing I ever said. They have to keep something in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would not like that feeling,
No, not at all.
A house is buttoned up all tight.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
think about it. If you have to run from something, it's way more comforting thinking that if you run to the door, you can just go flick that lock real quick without having to have a
Right.
key on your person
I feel
to
like
fumble around for.
somewhere when I grew up, somebody had one of those, but the key stayed in it on the inside. They left it in.
I think I have.
I feel like I've seen that before.
Yeah, I think I have too. Mom says to Nancy, "You are going to get some sleep tonight if it kills me." Interesting choice of words. Nancy demands the key. She says, "I can't give it to you. I don't even have it on me, see? Nana, nana, boo-boo."
Yeah, dude, she's definitely lit here.
Yeah,
She's like, "It ain't on me, see?" Woo."
Speaking of nana, nana, boo-boo, I want to mention real quick that I like...
What?
Well, it just occurred to me that I wanted to mention, and just in case I don't get around to it the next time we mention the score, I like how playful the score is. I like that it's got that just that sing-songy, playful, like taunting, like, oh my god, you're so fucked, but we're gonna make it fun,
Right.
We cut back to Glenn as the TV station he's been watching plays the national anthem for their nightly sign-off. And the voiceover guy on there goes, "It's now 12 midnight, and this is station KRGR." Leaving the air, he says. Why is he laying in bed with the TV sitting on his junk? That can't be comfortable.
So this is what we talked about is, where was I when people were moving around TV? Like, you know what, I'm going to get in bed. Might as well bring the TV.
Just set it on my
Put
crotch
it
and
in the
fucking
bed.
fall asleep. Yeah.
It's weird.
I've never heard of that before. I was a 90s kid, though, so. Freddy then reaches up through the bed and pulls Glenn into it. Glenn, the TV, the headphones, the record player all fucking get pulled in.
Mm-hmm.
And Nancy across the street screams out for him. And then there's, like... we cut back to this giant hole in the bed that just starts spewing Glenn back out. It's just a fucking blood geyser.
Yes.
Apparently they used an upside down room for this effect.
Oh, hell yeah.
They glued everything down. What the fuck ever you got to do, nailed it down. Turned the whole room upside down and did that. The ceiling is just getting fucking pelted with blood. The poor light fixture is holding on for dear life. I don't know how it made it through.
I want to know how much blood they used here.
A lot.
And if it was comparable to, like, The Shining.
I was going to say it's not Shining level, I don't think. Not quite.
Yeah, it's
but
definitely a lot, though.
It's
definitely
got to
a
be
lot.
up there, though, yeah.
Yeah. So Glenn's mom runs to the door. She opens it up to see this fucking horror. Things kind of start tilting a little bit as if being pulled by some unseen force. And then we get police and paramedics showing up. The one cop says, "You won't need a stretcher up there. You'll need a mop."
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Then, okay, how do you even know it's Glenn then? You know?
Who else would it be? John Saxon pulls up. The cop from the beginning, Sergeant Parker, says he's sorry to wake Lieutenant Thompson, but I've never seen anything like this before. Donald, as he's like walking into the house, turns and waves to Nancy, who looks fucking crazy, staring out the window across the street.
Yeah.
Inside Glenn's house, the police are like strategically placing buckets around the living room floor because Glenn's blood is leaking through.
Yeah, through the fucking ceiling, dude.
Fuck me, man. That's
crazy.
a lot of blood to do that much damage.
Yeah.
Does the human body contain enough to do that?
I wouldn't think so.
Who else's blood is mixed in with Glenn's here to create this?
Right.
Donald and Glenn's dad walk back in, and as soon as he sees blood leaking from the ceiling, he walks away like he's going to be sick. Nancy calls again over to the Lance residence, but specifically to talk to her dad, knowing he's there now. She goes, I know what happened, Daddy. And he goes, I haven't been upstairs yet. She's like, I don't give a fuck if you have been upstairs. You know what happened, right? He's dead. He goes, yeah, apparently he is dead. Genius.
Just to add, like when she does call and he's standing in the living room looking at the bucket of blood,
yeah,
and the sheriff it cuts to him and he's like right on top of him. He's like just staring at him for a minute. I thought that was kind of creepy. Your daughter's on the phone.
Yeah. Nancy goes, I've got a proposition for you, Daddy. I'm going to go get the guy who did this, and I want you to be there to arrest him when I bring him back out. Come over and break down the door in exactly 20 minutes. Okay.
Got it.
He lies, saying that he's going to be there, trying to get her to just shut the fuck up and go to sleep.
Right.
And I can identify as a parent. There were times when they're younger where you're just pulling your hair out. I mean, I don't have any, but that's probably why. But you're like, just fucking sleep. Oh my God, I can't do it anymore.
Well, he's not. Obviously, all this weird shit is happening, all these crazy deaths. But in general, he is just like, this is all in her head. She's nuts. She's been up for 7 fucking days.
Right.
If she lays down, she's going to go to sleep and everything's going to be fine. That's what he's hoping for.
Right. So Thompson tells Parker to watch Nancy's house. If he sees anything funny, call him. And then here's where we get the fucking Home Alone booby trap montage.
Yes. That's exactly what I thought of too.
She files a hole into a light bulb and fills it with gunpowder, and I mean fills it.
Yeah, dude, hell yeah.
There's clothespins and tripwires and sledgehammers, oh my.
Dude, the sledgehammer is the greatest. She ties it to the door frame and then pulls it up to the ceiling and holds it with a coat hanger, and I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna wreck his nuts.
But dude, there's no way she had time to do all this and fall asleep and find Freddy in 20 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's not happening. There's this guy that walks out of Glenn's room upstairs looking utterly fucking disgusted. He wipes his feet as he comes out.
Oh, I didn't catch that. He kind of...
Yeah. Yeah. Lieutenant Thompson walks up to the door. He takes one look, immediately turns and walks away.
Yeah, dude. You say the coroner was in the bathroom throwing up?
Yeah, the other cop that was standing there, he goes, what the hell did that? And Thompson asks what the coroner's take is. He's like, I don't know. He's been fucking puking since he got here. And then we get a little role reversal as Nancy puts Mom to bed.
Tucks her in with her bottle of liquor.
Yep. Importantly, Mom has a line here where she says something about, I didn't see how much you needed to know. You face things. That's your nature. That's your gift. But sometimes you have to turn away, too. And then she goes to take another drink because that's her nature.
Right.
But then she stops herself, and Nancy tucks Mom in and winds up her clock. Nancy goes at this point, okay, Krueger, we play on your court. And then she gives the whole, now I lay me down to sleep prayer. She sets a 10-minute timer, and then we get a close-up of Nancy that looks pretty Reagan-y to me.
I thought the exact same thing.
Yeah. She thinks back to her conversation with Glenn as she falls asleep, about them turning their back on the danger or whatever. So now in Dreamland, Nancy walks downstairs. She goes down to the basement. She goes to take the glove out of the wood stove, but it's gone. There's a cool shot of this little dogs playing poker tapestry on the wall. She hears Freddy scratching in the distance, and then she finds a fucking sub-basement under her house.
Yeah, dude, I like that. It was an extra door you never noticed.
Yeah.
That went down to it.
Well, yeah, she goes down. She's like, oh, fuck, I didn't booby trap down here.
The basement.
Yeah. Also, the slippers she's wearing right now, not good for running. zero traction in those things. Eventually, I think she ends up running out of him, as a matter of fact. When she walks down this new set of stairs, behind her, the door closes on its own. And then, goddamn, more stairs. She gets some fucking spirally ones now. She wanders the boiler room, hearing all kinds of voices. She climbs down a ladder when she gets down there. It seems like her arm is bothering her more all of a sudden. Does that thing sense orcs, too?
Huh? That one might have been over my head.
Okay. Impressive. You're tall. She yells for Freddy. At this point, she looks so fucking tired, dude.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
The score amps up a little bit again. She finds the crucifix from Tina's bedroom and Rod's knife sitting next to it, as a matter of fact. Freddy does another little peek and squeak. The glove in the foreground in front of her sort of jolts to life and shrinks away.
Mm-hmm.
And then she finds Glenn's headphones covered in blood. Just in case you didn't know, they are indeed labeled with his name.
Oh, wow. I didn't notice that either.
She does a little bit of a Bill impression from It. She goes, "Show yourself, you bastard." She checks the time on her watch, and she goes, "Shit." But then, boom, Freddy pops out and spooks her. And she runs off saying, "Follow me." She jumps off some more stairs and right into the trellis in her front yard.
Yeah, she jumps off of that catwalk kind of and almost spawns into her front yard.
Well, this is where the filming and editing starts to fall off the rails, because you can totally see the pad that the stunt performer jumps on, like puffing up around him.
Wow.
The
Creepy.
Her watch announces the final 10 seconds and counts down. And then all of a sudden, Freddy just yells, "Bitch." He throws some roses off of him and does a little ninja pose. And she jumps right the fuck at him, holds on tight. Her alarm goes off at this point, and she wakes up hugging some trellis until she comes completely to. And then there's nothing. She's just back in bed.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was kind of weird. There was definitely an editing issue there to where when, like you said, she first wakes up and the trellis is there and it's all over and there's like grass on her kind of or something too.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's nothing there.
I think they edited it out on purpose because now they need her to feel like, "Oh shit, I am crazy," which is exactly what she says next.
Right.
Yep.
So I would have preferred there be a piece of trellis there, but again, you know.
Yeah, they're fucking with us.
Yeah. So after she says, "I am crazy," there's a little beat of silence, and then Freddy pops up from the other side of the bed and yells. He jumps at her and misses. She runs to grab the coffee pot and smashes him in the fucking head with it. Like, it's kind of poetic if you think about it.
Right.
She runs out, locks him into her bedroom, because that's what she was installing the lock earlier. She was installing it on the outside of her door.
Right.
So when she locks him in, she then rigs the door with the fucking sledgehammer. She taunts him to come out. She opens a window to yell across the street. She's like, "I've got him trapped." And then fucking Parker outside. She's like, "Get my dad, you asshole."
Right,
Yeah.
Yeah, she's screaming. She's like, "Hey, everything's fine." Like,
Fuck you. No, it's not.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Everything's gonna be all right.
Right.
She runs downstairs. She smashes out the glass in the front door with a fucking umbrella. She's like, "Don't let him kill me too."
Right.
Freddy finally gets out of Nancy's room and takes a fucking 9-pound hammer to the solar plexus.
I was gonna say it was great, and his reaction was good because Freddy's in real life now, so he gets hurt by this for sure.
Right.
But God, a foot and a half lower would have been so fucking funny, dude.
Either way, man, that can't feel good. Let's see the instant replay. Oh, that's gotta hurt. Right you are, Ken.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, he falls off the off like the banister or whatever, like over the rail.
Backwards and onto the stairs below. Clear as fucking day. There's a mattress on the stairs for the stunt performers. Just a fucking mattress.
Yeah, I didn't notice that either.
No?
Maybe.
Oh my god.
Maybe I was deep in these notes, man. Dude,
as soon as we finish this episode, we're
I didn't
going
either.
right back to the TV. This mattress is, oh my god, right in your face. Oh man. So Nancy kind of stomp grinds his thigh as she's trying to step over him after he rolls to a stop at her feet. She's taunting him again. "Come on, Freddy, can't you catch me?" And he fucking leans against the stairs for a second. He's like, "I'm gonna split you in two."
Yeah. Pervert.
Oh man. He trips the wire and the lamp behind him blows up. And after the third time she's yelling out the window across the street, and the second window she's smashed out, the cop finally says, "Maybe I better go tell the lieutenant."
Right.
Jesus Christ. So Freddy pops up behind her and she runs. He goes up to smash some more glass out of the window for good measure. even though she's clearly on the other side of the room now. I don't know why the fuck he did that. She runs back down to the basement and pulls the old switcheroo on him. He yells out something about, I'll kill you slow. She grabs a bottle of some kind of accelerant from the stairs, and he scratches the stove some more to spook her, and he's looking around the wrong way because she sneaks up on him and spooks him instead.
And catches his ass on fire, dude.
Yeah. I don't know how this bottle explodes against his stomach the way that it does. But
Right.
yeah, this is a great fire stunt. They run upstairs, but she smashes him with the door and sends him rolling back downstairs, doing a fucking Arnold impression the whole time. He's like, she locks him into the basement. Daddy runs back across the street and sees smoke. He calls for backup at that point. They open the door and she leads them to the basement, but at that same time she sees fiery footprints leading away into the living room and back upstairs.
Dude, I loved that.
The footprints?
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, dude.
It's so cool because when they come past the staircase at first, they're not there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So they literally walk by, and as they're going down that little hallway, he circles back the other way,
Right.
and that's where they see the footprints, you know?
Right. So Nancy yells, he's after Mother. They go up to Mom's room and find fiery Freddy on top of her. She whacks him with a chair and he collapses on top of Mom, and then Daddy runs back in, covers him with a blanket, putting the fire back out. When he pulls it back off, it's just Marge's corpse floating down into the abyss. Like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looked like a lightning storm kind of behind there, too.
Yeah,
It was like,
strobe lights and
Yeah.
shit.
Super confusing.
It kind of waves a little bit as it descends. That was
Right.
pretty silly. And it's a really cool effect as the bed goes from the hole with the strobe lights in it just completely back to normal. It's a really smooth transition. Probably the best effect of the movie, honestly. Well, let me take that back.
It was smooth, though.
It was real nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, Don, have fun explaining this to the boys at the precinct, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, Nancy finally gets her, now do you believe me?
Yeah.
You know?
yeah.
Parker comes back to let Lieutenant Thompson know that the fires are out, and John Saxon just closes the door on him.
Don't call him daddy.
Nancy tells him to go downstairs. There's another great effect here as Freddy rises back up through the bed, and he cuts through the sheets, and she goes, I know you're here, Freddy. He goes, you think you was going to get away from me? She goes, I know you too well now. And he just goes, now you die. She's like, well, no, I know the secret now. This is just a dream. You're not alive. I want my mother and friends again. He's like, what the fuck, bitch? What'd you say to me?
Right. Excuse me?
She goes, I take back every bit of energy I gave to you. You're nothing. You're shit. And as he lunges for her, she reaches for the door, and he dematerializes halfway there.
Right. It's like TV static, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a little anticlimactic, maybe, but
Mhm.
just the point of the whole, Balinese thing and taking away its power. She walks out of Mom's room, but into the daylight on her front porch, and her hair is all done up. She looks well rested, makeup on. It's a beautiful, bright day outside.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom walks out behind her. She looks around. She's like, it's going to burn off soon or it wouldn't be so bright. She says she feels like $1 million, but mentions they say you've bottomed out when you can't remember the night before. Wow. She goes, I'm going to stop drinking. I just don't feel like it anymore. She mentions Nancy looks peaked as she strangely pets her face for a second. And Nancy goes, I guess I just slept heavy. Nancy walks out to the road as Glenn pulls up in that beautiful red convertible. He's like, can you believe this fog? And then the top on the car slams shut, and now it's striped red and green. The windows roll up, the doors lock, everyone freaks out. Mom just smiles and waves as the car drives away. And then the Freddy nursery rhyme plays as the camera pans to some jump rope girls over standing in front of a Mustang, jump rope and singing the song. And here we get the infamous ending where the mom doll gets sucked through the window that apparently...
Oh, hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Apparently, Wes Craven wanted nothing to do with it. Robert Shea insisted that this be a part of it so they could keep it going to keep the possibility open for sequels and shit. I'm not a fan either. It just looks like a blow up doll just getting sucked through a tiny window.
It's definitely goofy.
Yeah, it is goofy.
And they could have... There's a cliffhanger anyways. They're already in the Freddy car. So her getting sucked
Yeah.
through the window doesn't change anything.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. Who knows? Not a great call. But the nursery rhyme finishes as the credits roll. The last image in the movie that we get is the jump rope girls. Again, Rod Lane credited as Nick Corey instead of his actual fucking name. That sucks. But there's some sick 80s music playing over the credits. Apparently the song is called Nightmare. It's performed by 213, who I've never heard of. But there is a special thanks to Sean Cunningham of Friday the 13th and Sam Raimi in the credits. I don't know. I know that Evil Dead was playing at one point, but I'm not sure what the nod to Sean Cunningham is. So that'd be worth exploring. But yeah, fucking the end, everybody. What'd you think?
I'm gonna rate this movie probably a 4 out of 10.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I mean, there was parts of it that I really enjoyed.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, a lot of it was comical for me.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Some of the aspects of the movie were kind of cheesy a little bit.
Super
and like
cheesy,
you
for
said,
sure.
you could see some of the cutouts that weren't supposed to be
it's
there.
insane and way too fucking obvious.
I think a lot of it is when we
Yep.
start going back and picking at these older movies. Like, they're classics and we all love them.
Yep.
But you start seeing shit that you didn't notice when you watched it as a kid.
Right. Yeah, I never noticed that fucking painfully obvious mattress before.
I know, absolutely not. And you look back on, this is Heather's first role in being Nancy and stuff, and yeah, she's not that great,
Right.
But as the series progresses, I like Freddy more as it goes on. Everybody says, "Oh, it gets too cheesy," and I'm like, "No, it gets more fun and it's better." I like Freddy on the fucking beach, man. I like that goofy shit, and he evolves, and I think everybody in the series kind of evolves too.
I feel like some of that does get a little over the top for me, but at the end of the day, I still do rate this movie very highly. But it's not because of the technical prowess of it, because again, yes, you can absolutely see that mattress. Yes, you can absolutely see that landing pad. Yes, there are some effects that don't hold up. Yes, there is some acting that's a little subpar. But overall, the vibe of this movie is what we're going for. The idea that a dream demon is stalking you in your fucking sleep is absolutely terrifying, because what in the fuck do? You can't not sleep.
Right.
That's part of a thread through the entire series, is they're trying to figure out how to avoid sleeping or avoid dreaming. You can't. You're human. You fucking have to.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the angle on it too. You have all these slashers, because you had Michael, you had Jason here that were out. But yeah, it's a superhuman thing, whatever, back from the dead is one thing. It's been done a million times. There's never been somebody else that has a dream angle like this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a one-of-a-kind idea, and there's
Right.
a reason that Freddy's going to be around forever.
Yeah. And when you get down to some nitty-gritty details, this movie wouldn't really measure up, mainly in editing today, but it still lit a fire under the horror world anyway, and Freddy really became an icon who's probably the most fun out of all the slashers.
Absolutely.
Between him and Chucky, I think, probably,
He's my number 2.
He's your number 2
Yeah.
behind Leatherface?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Leather faces.
But I also want to mention that I feel like the biggest star in this movie is Charles Bernstein with that fucking score. God damn it.
Yeah.
I can't. Just the entire start to finish on this movie, that score comes to fucking play. And it carries so much of the psychological state that you should be in while watching the movie. It translates that extremely well.
Right.
Yeah.
There's something about that 80s synth sound, and he did it better than anyone else, I think.
That's up there with Tubular Bells,
Yeah, 1,000%.
which is arguably one of the best too,
Yeah. So overall, I think I gave this 1428, like the house address, out of 1,500 hidden bottles of vodka. I rate this movie highly, even though some of it, you can kind of call it a piece of shit for some of the mistakes that it makes, but you can't not have a good time.
Oh, yeah.
I promise you that.
I like where everything goes after this, even though a lot of people argue about it. I like all the Freddy stuff. It's so good.
Yeah,
you know?
and the amount of Freddy real estate that has taken over a large portion of the horror map.
Oh, dude.
Oh, yeah.
He's a
I feel
pop
like-
icon, dude.
Yeah,
Crazy.
1,000%, man. Like, this movie / character should replace your right hand. You know, that's as a horror fan, there's a certain percentage of it that we have to reserve in our minds and our hearts for Freddy.
Yeah, I was just going to
because
say,
he's
like,
just huge.
I put him in a different, like, category.
Yeah.
He's in his own category for me. Like,
Yeah.
like, I really enjoy, I think he's super funny, mostly. But, yeah, I put him in a different category, as in horror.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
That's what makes him iconic for me.
1,000%. Our alarms are going off here at the studio, which means we are now waking up and coming out of this dream talking about this movie. So So we hope you had a good time. We obviously did too. Debbie, obviously you're more than welcome to come back in the future and guest host some of these pods with us. In the meantime, everybody, if you would like to get a hold of us, please do so. Write in and comment on some of your favorite episodes or parts of episodes, or suggest more episodes. Tell us what you would like to hear on the show. We'd love to hear it. You can get a hold of us at cinebytespod@gmail.com. You can hit us up and follow our socials on Facebook, Twitter /X, Instagram, TikTok. We got a YouTube. Go check out all the things. And if you feel so kind, if you would like to help us make this podcast better for you in the future, support the show at cinebytespod.buzzsprout.com. Until next time, everyone, as always, dreams are fleeting. Only nightmares last forever. Follow your nightmares, but maybe not this one.
Boy. Kill her, Mommy. Kill her.
I bid you welcome.
There's a really great zoom shot back to the zoom chat.